Hey everybody, it's Linda from Stamping School. I'm going to be working with this diagonal layout this week. Lots of different styles of cards and some easy ways to do this and save on paper too. So let's get started with this first one. So I did a few different designs with this butterfly paper. It's not the best paper to do this technique with because you're going to waste some. This is 6x6 paper. And you're going to be left with some odd pieces left over, which you'll use for something else, but it really works best on 12 by 12 paper. So I'll show you. So for instance, if we cut down our paper like 4 by 5 1/4, you're going to get 6 pieces out of one 12 by 12 sheet. But if you cut it to 4 by 4, you're going to get 9 cards out of one sheet of designer paper. And that's my goal, was to kind of make the paper stretch a little more. So doing it with 6 by 6 paper is not great. So on this first one, I did 6 by 6, but then I used 12 by 12 on all the other ones. So if you start with 4 by 4 inch, it works really great for this diagonal technique. So let me show you. I'm going to put it into the paper cutter. If you can pick 2 out of the pack that you like together for the top and the bottom, put them together. And in your paper trimmer, you're going to offset it a little bit. So instead of cutting it diagonally in half, which you can do, and I'll show you what that looks like, I'm going to offset it a little bit, and I'm going to put this point where the 1 is. So here's my 1 inch line. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Here's my 1 inch line here. And it really doesn't matter that much, but you can, as long as, you've got a little space here and a little space here, put it down and cut those in half. So it's like this. So now what you have are 2 cards that will look like that, and we're going to have a little space in between, and that's what gives it that really great 4 by 4 piece here. And then you can put this here, you can put a sentiment here, anything in the middle, ribbon, you can kind of go crazy from there. But that stretches that paper into a full-size card. And let me show you what happens when you do it diagonally in half. And I'll show you the difference in what they look like. If you just go exactly diagonal, and let's say we put it on, here's a 4 by 5 1/4 layer, okay? But that 6 by 6 paper is not going to stretch across here if you want something like that. Now, if you just want to stamp a sentiment in the middle, that's fine, but 6 inches is not going to make it this way. But it will make it on this one because we came down a little bit more, okay? We gave it that little extra inch, so now that 6 inch piece will work. So it's just something to keep in mind. You can do this, but make sure you have at least the 7 inches to go across this way unless you're stamping it. So see, it just comes up a little bit higher, and this one I actually had to take it from the center of that paper, which was really wasteful, but I wanted that pattern. And then this one, you can see the difference, okay, how it goes like that. So this way will definitely maximize your paper more because you need a smaller piece here. And by the way, this stamp right here comes from this limited edition. It's in the annual catalog. This is such a great set. It's actually made to put on the backs of cards, but I love this A Paper Hug for Me, just even on the front. And this one, Just for You, that can go on the front of a card. I mean, I love them. It's a great set. And for people who are selling their cards, it's got the copyright Stampin' Up! That you can put on the back. So it's a great little set. Now this card, the paper is mounted directly to the cardstock. And it's a little bit trickier to do that because if you put this on here, glue this on, and then glue this on, then how do you get this to be cut exactly where you need it? It's a little trickier. So the way that I did that, I glued these 2 on, and then on this one, I brought in my ruler, and you have to do it in this orientation, otherwise it doesn't work. I went like this, lined it up, did a little pencil mark, and then cut it with the scissors. It took a lot longer to do that. My recommendation is use your little base of cardstock, glue it on, and this is exactly 4 inches by 5 1/4. Okay, put those two together, and then this one comes across and you trim it. So this one just goes across. You got a nice little layer in there. This piece is 3/4 of an inch, and there's always an inch space in between if we do the 4x4 layout. And then I can easily just trim those off. And then that layers on the card. Now, this one is in a beautiful suite. It's in the winter mini catalog from Stampin' Up, which is July through December catalog, page 25. Here's the designer paper that I used, and I'm not ready for Christmas yet. I don't have this stamp set yet, so I literally just used the paper on this card. But you can see how beautiful this Boughs of Holly is. Such a pretty, pretty suite. So because I don't have the stamps yet, I just fussy cut out some of these flowers from this. I think I did one from this paper right here and just went in there, even though it looks like you can't see well, but once you start cutting it, you can really see those petals and the leaves. And this one is just the one piece of 4x4 paper. Isn't that pretty? I love this paper. Because I wanted it on the top and the bottom, and that's why you get 9 pieces out, remember, from your 4x4. Coming in here, putting that little point here up on the one, and this one on the one, down here, cutting those 2 pieces. And then these just get glued on the white, because on this card, I want to stamp that greeting right there. Now, if that worries you a little bit, you have a couple of options. Because that was my fear, I was putting this card together, and I had this already glued down, and I thought, oh no, I got to stamp that right there, and it's got to look good, and it's got to be perfect, or otherwise I've messed it all up. So here's what you can do. If you're really worried about it, you can stamp on a white piece of paper, and you can lay it on top of there. Because we've got this pretty metallic in here, it kind of works anyway. So this is a really big space. This is, you know, the 1 inch. So we have this washi tape, and there's a green. This is in the winter catalog also. And there's a real pretty green right here that I used, and I just put it on right up to the line there and then wrapped it around. So what you can also do is just use glitter paper, like this pretty glimmer paper. I thought that would be really nice too. And we could just glue some of that on. And just run just a little bit of glue right across the top and the bottom. And I'm gonna just make that space a little bit smaller by adding this on right there. And this is only 1/4 of an inch, but it makes a statement. Looks like I got some extra. This glimmer paper is really pretty. There's a vanilla in there, which kind of reads more like a light green. And there's a gold, and there's a real pretty dark green, like an evergreen. I'll show you those in a little bit. But now what you've got is a really nice smaller area in between that you can stamp. Or if you mess it up, look, you can do that. So you get one chance to get it in here. And if it doesn't work out, ooh, that one worked. Then you can stamp it on another piece of little 3/4 inch paper and just glue it on top and trim it off. So that is one way to do it. And remember, if you don't want to cut all this paper down, you can actually just, like for instance, take your cardstock and then just go right across it. You can actually put a whole panel of paper on if you want and just do that and trim it off. But I like that it's inset in here. And then I just added the paper. And then I also flicked it with a little bit of the Wink of Stella. And I know you can't see it, but oh, it's so pretty in here. And if you do that, make sure you cover up your ink because it can bleed a little. But that real pretty shimmery Wink of Stella, if you want a little bit, you just tap it like this. But if you want a lot of it, kind of get it going and then flick it from the cap. And you'll get bigger splotches everywhere. And just once you get that flowing a little bit, there, it's just like a shimmer liquid. And just flick it like that. Get bigger splotches. It's very pretty. All right, so from there, I just mounted it on evergreen card. That might be one of my favorites. I really like that one. Now, my friend Janet Munden did this one. And what she did was a completely different way also. She had her white panel, and then she masked off this diagonal piece here with masking paper, and then she stamped it and stamped the bottom, took off the masking, and then she's left with this nice white band right here, and then she took little teeny strips of cardstock to put it across. So just a whole other idea of how to get that look. I love this one for fall. I love this. I love the paper. I love the stamp set. I didn't know I was going to like it, but I do. This stamp set is on page 68. It's called Very Best Occasions. And it comes in a bundle with this little corner punch that I really didn't need, so I just got the stamp set. I like the Love You Mean It, Love You Miss You, You're the Best Ever, Thinking of You with Comfort and Love. But in this case, I decided to make it a fall. And I'm going to put Endlessly Grateful on the inside. You Make My Life Happier, Sending You Smiles for Every Moment of Your Special Day. May you enjoy the warmth of family this season. This one I love. With a little more sparkle and a little less stress, let's make this Christmas the very best. May your days be happy, your heart be light, your Christmas be merry, and the new year bright. This is such a great set. This is called Rustic Harvest. And I am ready for the weather to get cooler, so maybe this will help a little. But it's pretty. All the fall colors, of course. I love this. All the fall vegetables and squash and all that, and pumpkins. And this is gorgeous. So this is made, you can just cut it right down the center and make your panels and for pretty cards. Isn't that gorgeous? Love that. And then a real pretty curry, and then a bunch of pumpkins. And then the other sides are all black and white, which I think is interesting, so you can color them. Or leave them black and white, but I would probably tend to color them. All the black and white prints. So this is done exactly the same way. 4x4 pieces, cut. And then this is a little 1-inch piece that goes, and I mounted this one on black. There's a black piece of cardstock back there. So it doesn't always have to be white. Think about, you know, what goes well with the paper. And then I mounted the whole thing on daffodil because it really just made it pop. And then my tag, this is fussy cut out from the paper because I don't have any pumpkin sets currently. So I just use the paper. So if you only have to make a few, that works really well. And then a pretty tag. And then this black and white ribbon, I love it. It's in the annual catalog. So this one I haven't put together yet, but I'm confident it's going to look okay. And it is going to be in the landscape horizontal instead of the portrait. And if you do that, then you're going to want your pieces to be 3 inches by 5 1/4 when you cut these up. And that will give you 8 cards with a little extra pieces in the middle. So I've got this one, I have a piece of evergreen back there. And I'm going to do this pretty much the same thing, but I'm going to do like a 1/2 inch from the top and a 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch, probably 3/4. 3/4 looks pretty good. And cut them both at the same time. That's really key. You got to make sure you cut them at the same time. And so, you know, on the next card, it's just going to be flipped, which is still going to look fine. So whether it's on the top or the bottom, or this one's on the bottom and this one's on the top, it really doesn't matter. It's not going to matter. You just put your embellishments or whatever up here or flip-flop, but you get 2 cards out of each one anyway. Now, I ran this one through the embossing, and I did a little wood grain embossing on it. And we're going to mount this on the white. Again, same base, 4 by 5 1/4. So I've got this one glued, get your 1 inch in between. It's probably a good idea to stamp this while it's there. Since I have ink on this one already, I'm gonna just stamp it here. And then here's that really pretty evergreen glimmer paper. So it comes in a vanilla, which is, like I said, it reads a little seafoamy. It's got a hint of green to it. And then the gold and the evergreen, really pretty, in one package. That's in the mini catalog. Now you could do just solid green, or you could do crumb cake, or you could do something else, but I just thought this is so pretty. And you know, the holidays are all about sparkle anyway, so why not? This paper is that returning paper, Painted Seasons, I think it's called. And it was in the catalog last year, and it's back. It's very pretty paper with the pine cones. Now the hardest thing is just making sure that you get those straight. But there's a little bit of forgiveness because we're gonna be adding some elements right here. All right, so I've trimmed my little ends and I'm mounting it on a soft succulent card base, just for a little bit lighter green. And by the way, the sentiment is here, Christmas to Remember. That one also was a carryover from last year. It's one of my favorites. I love the bold font in there. And then I just stamped some of these pine cones. I thought that would be really pretty, just to kind of add a few of these little pine cone sprigs. I'll link to everything down below so you can see. That's also a carryover from last year. Stamp some pine cones. You can do a little gold in there or not. It's up to you. That's from a punch. And there it is. Yeah, I kind of like it. And then scatter a little bit of gold rhinestones. These are the champagne. I want gold rhinestones. That's what I want. Champagne works pretty well. And it works really good if you take one of your dark yellow markers and go over it. It really turns it gold. If you don't have the alcohol markers, this is the dark mango. You can use a dark yellow Sharpie. It'd do the same thing and color your rhinestones and make them more yellow. But I think I like that. I don't know if it needs the gold in there, but I kind of like it. So there you go. So there's 1, 2, 3, well, 4, 5, those are similar. And then Janet's 6 different ideas. Go try it, get out your designer paper and just start playing, because once you start, it's hard to stop. We'll see you next time. See it, learn it, stamp it.